Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be tuning in from. We are so happy to have you here this evening at Conversations for the Soul, one good sip at a time. My name is Dr. Angie, and I have with us today, we are very lucky to have Miss Yashica B. But this is the show where we have those very interesting conversations. Some of them are savory, some of them are sweet, but nonetheless, they are conversations for the soul. At this moment, we would really like it if you would take a moment out to just like, share, and subscribe. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce my wonderful co-host. Her name is Yashica B, the Eclectic Mindset Motivator.
Thank you.
Say hi to the audience.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Angie. I will put your check in the mail for that wonderful introductory. Okay, so today's show, wow. Interesting. Well, hopefully, I know it will be a topic that we kind of shy away from. My topic tonight is why Black women should look outside their race. It's going to be an open conversation of dialogue. You guys tune in and comment in the comment sections. We're going to be reading. We're going to be going. We're going to have a juicy conversation with two of our guests. We have Neil and we have another Yashica. Can you believe that? Another Yashica. Yep. She has a name like mine and I have a name like hers. So maybe she's bringing that fire like me. I believe she will. So first, let us go ahead and bring up Yashica.
Hi.
Hey, Yashica is, like I said, we have the same name, and we met each other by her starting a group called Yashica. Because for so long, our name being so odd, we didn't know it was extra, a lot of us out there. Yashica is a mental health worker. She has a degree in theology. Is that correct? You just correct me if I'm right. And so we're coming from a different place. But, my topic is why Black women should look outside their race. And we also have one more guest that we're going to bring up. I'm going to let you introduce yourself again to give you a minute to Yashica to go ahead and let people know who you are, just in case I didn't say enough.
Oh, I'm a mental health therapist, and then I do also have a master's degree in theology. Mm-hmm. And so I've been working in mental health for a while now.
So, okay, that's going to be interesting because I almost had another question to hit that right there. But let us introduce Neil and then bring Angie back on screen before I talk about that. And also our other special guest is Neil. Neil and I met years ago and we're in the military. And I'm going to let him introduce himself because the reason why is because I want you to understand, audience, that we're not just talking to people that have not left their mailbox. We're talking to diverse people on this topic. So please, Neil, introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Yashica, for the introduction. My name is Neil McMillan, currently a federal agent with the Defense Counterintelligence Security Agency in D.C. That's fancy for basically I conduct background investigations for the Congress, members of Congress, U.S. Treasury, White House, and FBI and U.S. Marshals. So glad to be here. I can't wait to start the conversation, and I'm looking forward to
it. Okay. All right. Angie, you can bring us all back on. That would be great.
Right.
All righty. Okay. So where did this topic come from? Well, I'll tell you. This week I was looking up, actually Yashica's post. It was about a young lady who wrote some things about Black men and the fact that Black women have to, they're holding us to this higher standard that them too are not holding themselves to, and that we're almost like second class when it comes down to the Black male. Of us having Black women having to be not this right size, this right look, the hair, etc. So I have a lot of friends who are over the age of 40, and they're over the age of 40, and I'm concerned about them because some of them have never been in real relationships, and many of them have never been married. And there's also groups of them that are over the age of 40 who want to be married, but yet are stuck. And I'm saying stuck, yes, I am, because y'all know I'm very transparent and true to what I say, who are stuck in that loyalty towards the Black man. Now, me personally, I've already shared this with friends, and I've told them, listen, do you want somebody or do you want some color? Because when at the end of the day, if you want to love and you want love, your race may be a little bit shy of that, then you might have to go outside the mailbox and see what the rest of the world has to offer. So I'm going to go to you, Yashica, that we spoke, and you're the one that posted the article. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts about that?
The post that I made, I posted and I asked what other people's thoughts were. I didn't 100% agree with everything that was in the post. I don't feel that every woman of color is raised to be independent. I can speak for myself and my family. I was not raised to be independent. I was raised to be self-sufficient. So I grew up in a household where a man provides for the woman. And so I also grew up in a household where, you know, a man acts like a man, a woman acts like a woman, etc. So I didn't 100% agree. I think a lot of the stuff that was stated in that post stemmed from the Willie Lynch syndrome, where women of color are angry and dominant, and we're masculine and males are feminine. And those are just things that I don't really agree with.
I got you. You're absolutely right. When we look at our culture and the way we're coming, we have so many areas that we have to attack. We can only attack them one at a time to try to help the situation. Now, when we're coming down to love and what we look like to other people, we have to first, again, love ourselves true and not necessarily look at ourselves to please a certain person. Now, me, I do agree with you. I am with that traditional look, you know, that it's roles to play. And I think we were created that way for a reason, you know, and I think when we go tapping into that, that's when we get all this extra change that we necessarily don't need. So, Neil, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on that?
Hey, good question. I didn't actually read the document that the other Yashica posted. So, but based on your question, when you actually be a part of the panel, the first thing I thought about was my daughters. You know, I have a teen daughter and I have a preteen daughter, you know, 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And also, what I failed to mention at the beginning of my introduction, I used to work at Bank of America for about 4 years as an executive in the market. And I work with a lot of high-powered women of color. And what I found out, you know, through conversations, the more successful that, you know, the Black women were, the more apt they were to be single, based on the fact that they weren't going to settle for somebody. I don't want to say less than, but they were looking for their equal. And with the with incarceration rates and women are going to college a lot more than men, you know, Black women are going to college a lot more than males now. So the playing field was unequal as far as being equally yoked. So I found that to be an issue, you know, in my professional career and just in past conversations.
That's interesting that you should say that, because there's an article in the Chicago Tribune where author, I'm going to read off my notes a bit, Cheryl Judas wrote a book about that. And you mentioned about the Black male. Now, in her research, she mentioned that Black females start to outnumber Black males by the age of 16. That's something to think about. And what was your daughter's ages again?
12 and 19.
And and it's due to what you said, incarceration and the high death rates of Black males. So if we're already knowing now that, hey, this was written in 2018, it's still fairly, you know, decent. If you were doing research, it's a new article, you know, an article for research. So therefore, if you're knowing this already, so you're already basically having to see that you're going to have to color outside the lines, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you posed a question to me a few days ago, you know, like I said, I reflected back to my daughter, and I mean, at 12, I don't really think they have an issue with color, you know, because most of her friends don't look like her anyway. But I think we, you know, I shouldn't say millennials, Xers and Boomers, we have the problem when it comes to color and dating outside our race. As an opinion, like I said, opinion only. I'm 100% for it. I mean, because of how they treat you. If somebody treats you well, you know, hey, by all means.
Yeah, because you are a different beast. That's one of the reasons why when I posed the question to you, you said something, because even when I posted this post on Facebook, the feedback that I was getting, I was loving it. I was actually loving it, though, the different answers that people in my inbox. But we have so many different ways. But one thing that I do want to talk about, I want to go to Yashica, because Yashica has dated outside of her race, and I just want to ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind sharing your experiences. Because again, and listen, what we're telling our audience, listen, none of this stuff is going to work for each and every person. You have to be open-minded. I know social media has y'all thinking that everybody's boxing in the same frame and we're all alike, but we're not. Every situation is different. every person is different. We're not telling you what to do. We're just trying to open your eyes and your vision to understand that if you're in this position, you may have to do something different. Every single show I do, my last word is always do something different. You have to do something different. Doing the same thing, getting the same results, you know what that means. So Yashica, can you talk about your experiences if you don't mind?
Yes, sure. Did you have a question, or did you just want me to just?
Yeah, I just want I know you said that you dated outside your race. I don't know which race you chose. Whatever you want to tell us about, or was it positive, negative, or what? As a matter of fact, let's go back to this one. What made you decide to go out? Have you been married to a Black man or dated a Black man?
My ex-husband is Black, yes.
Okay, so now I want to ask you a question. Is that okay? I'm not saying that was the reason, but what made you decide to go outside of your race, to look outside of your race?
Right. I come from a very diverse community. So, I mean, I always grew up. I mean, my first celebrity crush was one of the New Kids on the Block. So, I mean, that was nothing new for me to look at someone outside of my race. My community is very diverse. I'm from the Midwest, high school, very diverse. So, I mean, I went on dates in high school with people of other races. So that was nothing new.
So what are some of your experiences? Do you think there was a positive, plus? What did you get?
As far as the dates I went on in high school, or
no, as an adult, because we're gonna fast forward, because fast forward to where we are now, because the dynamic has changed now in the world to where we are now. If it's relevant.
Okay. So my ex, he was Irish, and I did have some certain requirements. I might be a little different than other people in interracial relationships, but you needed to understand systemic racism. You needed to understand history. So I had a lot of tests that you had to pass before I would even give you a chance to go out on a date with me. So he grew up in a very diverse community also. The experience overall was good. The situation ended because he was doing some stuff behind my back, and I do have moral standards and values, so he had to go. But as far as on the day-to-day, it was fine. I won't really say that we encountered any bigotry or anything out in the community. Mm-hmm. I'm almost 6 feet tall. He was an ex-college football player, a lot bigger than me. So if somebody did want to maybe say something, they probably were too scared to say anything to us or look at us some type of way, because we're both kind of supersized humans. So I think that probably has kept us safe.
I want to jump in real quick and just ask you the question. You said that there were some tests that they had to go through. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, just making sure that they, again, understand that systemic racism, understand it, Black history, understood things that I would go through, that we're going through right now currently as a people, just melanated people globally. So I wanted to make sure that he understood those things. So if he did not understand those things, there was no way that I would, give him the time of day. He did, because he grew up in a diverse community also.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. One of the things that I do know, that was a question that was posed to me, was that when Black women choose to date outside of our race, we are saying to our Black males that we're diminishing who they are. Anybody can address that before I do. Neil, your thoughts?
Look, I'm trying to process that.
Because it's like, okay, it's a double standard, basically.
Yeah. I was going to say,
when she was going to the high school, I stopped her there, because I had experience back in the day. Because with me, it was okay for the Black males to date outside of their race, but when it came down to us, it was a no-no. We don't do that. And that has been the stigma on Black women for years, all the way up until now. That's why we're talking about it, because these conversations need to be had where Black women can understand we're the last on the totem pole. I don't care how you want to look at it. We're the last ones. We have the biggest numbers, the largest numbers of being single. We're the greatest number of being professionals, but we are by ourselves. And yet you want to be loved. So you're going to have to break these barriers that have been put on us by our male counterparts, while we're being loyal and holding them up, but they're not holding us up. And I'm saying it in a way, if you're going to jail over dumb stuff, you're not holding me up, because therefore I don't have anybody to choose from, right? If you're not getting yourself educated, I'm not telling you got to be a lawyer or a doctor or none of that stuff, but at least you can be educated in educating your own self about your culture and what's going on with our people. The reason why women are we need to go outside our race, and that's the thing that I'm very, very adamant about that, and I don't take anything away from I have a black son. I have 2 black sons. You know, my husband I love my black men, but I just don't think that I'm going to wait for them to decide to pull their pants up. You understand what I'm saying? So, therefore, that's where anybody want to jump in there anytime you can.
I mean, yeah, I fully understand your question. I've seen the double standard. I've seen the hypocrisy. I've seen black men, white women in the same breath when they see a black woman with a white male or any other person. You know, they have the audacity to say, I mean, how can she? Can you believe this? You know, I'm from the same person, so I totally get it.
Yeah. I just wonder why has it been, or why is it a double standard? And then we have to have these type of conversations because, and I just say, you know, being uncomfortable in public with somebody of a different race, and understand this too. Just because you're outside of your race doesn't mean that it has to be somebody white. We have more colors than black and white. Okay, so we need to get that out there too, ladies, gentlemen, whomever, to make sure we understand that, and also know that we're not telling you what to do. We're just asking you to open up your mind and just think about it and have the conversation. Because at the end of the day, I think most women, black or white, Latina, Asian, want stability. They want love. They want protection. They want providers. I think that's the basic need. Am I correct, Dr. Angie? You've been married quite a while. What is it? You know?
Yeah, you just ran down Maslow's theory of basic needs. Yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely. See, we're all tied for that together.
Well, I've heard several issues that were addressed just now, but I do want to revisit. Neil, you mentioned that the more successful the woman, the less likely for her to find a black male. Now, do you believe that that is a conscious decision, or do you believe that that's something that happens just because of the sheer number of people that would allow them to be equally yoked?
In my opinion, I think it's a conscious decision. For example, yourself. I mean, you spent about at least 8 years in college to achieve your doctorate degree, right? I can't really foresee you being interested in somebody that you can't take around certain circles with you. Maybe a guy that has his GED or did not complete high school that can't hold a conversation. Not, I should say, can't hold a conversation, but just don't share your same interests or some stuff that you're talking about. He's not gonna be able to relate to. You know, and
that's a very good point. I also believe that a degree is a tool, and that does not necessarily mean that it equates with our intelligence or anything like that. But what I do hear what you say is really, it does cause you to move around in different circles. So as you are moving around in those different circles, I could certainly see where some people would be, uncomfortable in that if one was educated and the other one was not educated, or I couldn't even be educated. If one was degreed and the other one was not degreed, I could see that. So I get that. And then I also wanted to know, Yashica, I believe you mentioned, and Yashica B, I believe you mentioned that there are people who, basically what you said is the black male is not preparing for the fight. They're not preparing to get into relationships with the black woman because they're doing stupid things. So now when you say stupid things, I wonder if society, if the systemic racism that Yashica R mentioned, if that systemic racism is impacting that so that they are not able to pull up their pants and so forth. Yes, they can, in terms of being able to say, okay, I'm a professional, what have you. But sometimes I believe that our black males feel that they don't fit in anywhere. So they then begin to try to work that circle of where they are because they seem to have less. So as they have less hope and more apathy, does that cause them to behave more quote unquote black? And we're speaking about that, but these are, these are some good questions. Like, is that a situation where they are purposely going, I'm going to make sure everybody knows I'm black? Of course, you're black because of how you look, but then when they begin to act, as you mentioned, one of you mentioned, I'm not sure which one, mentioned that they are, functioning and maintaining that black role.
Mm-hmm. And then it's like, and even when you say the black role, we don't even know what the true black role is, because everything, we're labeled so much that you don't even know what is the black role, and that's why I was saying we have so many layers that has to be addressed in our communities, that we're going to be here for the next 400 plus years trying to get them all out, and you can only attack them one at a time. And it's unfortunate that we do have so many, because no matter what we do, it's always something else. And when I was saying about like my daughter is 25. Okay, so the ones of us who are 40 and above, I guess we are the woke ones now. I don't know if you want to call it that. But when I look at her, she's 25 years old. I listen to the stuff that they listen to. I see what they see. And I'm like, well, what? What? It makes no sense to me, but I guess it makes sense to them. So it's like, okay, so well, what do you really want? What do you really want? And another thing that I want to go and address this is when we talk about not knowing what is blackness. One thing I would like to know is, and this is a whole nother, this is going to be a whole nother topic on a whole nother show, is that why do we teach black men to hate black men?
Hey, Yashica, before we move on, I got a question for the doctor real quick.
Okay.
Not so much a question, but a statement. And I know we talked about the education difference, gaps, and can be, intimidating in relationships. But what I didn't mention was the financial gaps also. If you're successful by your own right, your own house, your own car, that can be intimidating to a struggling black man trying to come up in the system, or I shouldn't say in the system, but in his own right, and you're making 6 figures a year, he's making 40 to 50K. That can be an intimidating factor in itself. Was I muted? Oh.
No, I heard you.
Okay, that was it. That's when add the financial aspect as well.
Point. Yeah. And go ahead. Were you continuing to?
No, that was good. Like I said, I just wanted to add the financial aspect as well as the education aspect.
Yeah, and that does make a difference, and they kind of go hand in hand, except for now that I want us to really, as people of color in general, just really start to look at entrepreneurship. I think that's important, that we learn to start operating and functioning in our gifts, in our talents, in our purpose. And as we're doing that, many more doors will open up to us, rather than us trying to squeeze into, we being the square pegs trying to squeeze into the round holes of society's job market. Job market doesn't necessarily work for people, men of color, people of color. It doesn't necessarily work for us. So is it something that we need to really kind of start to change the focus on for our millennials and for our children that are coming up now? Start getting them to look at doing things outside of actually going to the job market. Can they start looking at other ways, legal ways, to make an income, something that will allow them to use their own special gifts and talents? Is that something that we should begin to push our children to do?
I don't want to hog the conversation, but definitely, absolutely. Entrepreneurship is definitely probably the number one way that we should be looking at, especially after me being in the corporate world, especially with a Fortune 500 company for about 4 to 5 years, bringing in millions of dollars to this institution and thinking like, man, this is small potatoes compared to what I'm getting rewarded for this job that I'm doing. So I should take these skill sets and do this for myself, especially being licensed in Series 67, Series 63 investment opportunities. But when you now the takeaway from that, when you have these skills, I'm quite sure you've experienced this, and you try to have these conversations with people of color that look like us, it's like, what's the catch? If I say I want to talk about investment opportunities, but I don't want you to give me anything, how many people you will really tune in to listen to what I'm saying? Even though I can talk about Bitcoin, I can talk about everything that's in the market now, I can talk about what stocks we should looking at. If they're taking a dip, we should invest. Who's gonna really listen to that conversation coming from me?
You're right, Neil. And listen, I addressed that this morning because even with myself, and I'm like I tell everybody, I'm very transparent, very open, and I tell the truth. Me, even myself, have fallen into that category, as into thinking that we have done so much negativity with our own selves in business that we take that small piece, that small negativity, and blow it up to the masses. And not only do we do that, but then we have the other that comes in and talks to our platforms. And I'm talking about, and I'm going to, because recently Kwame Brown used to be a basketball player, and he's addressing these issues, and he's hitting them hard. And I listened to somebody, a friend of mine sent that to me this morning, and it was talking about what goes on with us, how we downgrade ourselves. And it made so much sense. So I chose to change the narrative where it used to be, and I'm a victim of it. I would say, well, that's a good deal because if all them over there, then that must mean it's right? That's how we was talking. But that means that we're saying that they have more value than us because of how, whatever reason, whatever. So I changed that narrative. I said, you know what? No, I'm going over here because they look like me. And we have to start having them conversations to change that narrative, because there are just as powerful Black men in business. Then we need to just follow just because. And I know we're going to be skeptical, whatever, because you don't do all the extra questioning to the other. So why are you doing all the extra questioning to yourself? To somebody who look like you. And that's the only one. Now, when we hit the systemic, okay, we can keep hollering systemic racism. How long are we going to keep on hollering this? Because it's not nothing new under the sun. So we know it's here. So now let's start changing that conversation. You see it. Now let's start building each other up. Men, start pulling your pants up. Men, start talking to boys. And then I think a lot of our problem too is when we stop letting the village raise our kids, because now they're just running wild, right? And so you don't even have anything what are you going to tell them about? All they want to be is the next Nicki Minaj or what? Not that's the female side. What, I don't even know the people now. Instead of looking at, like you said, you've been in corporate 500, you got banking, all these different securities to do these, and that's investments. And for y'all that don't know, those are special licenses to be able to invest money. That's not something that you just got an app and say, oh, did. It don't work like that. That means you actually went through training of hours to learn how to invest your money correctly. Now, I know we got a lot of apps out there that's doing it, that people are doing it. I get it. But there are people who actually took the time to do it the right way that you can learn.
I mean, I saw a post from Mr. Davis. Keith Davis said that we don't trust our own people. He's spot on.
You're right, but we got to change that, because this is what I've learned. You're right. We don't, but we got to change that. And one thing we can change is start looking at and stop trying to act like everybody. What do we say in our Black community? You ain't better than nobody else. Let's stop by saying that. Number one, let's just feel that, because if I'm going to get my education and you chose not to, I am better than you. Now, you can take it how you want to take it, because when you start putting that emotion with it, that's when your feelings get hurt. Oh, she thinks she all that. No, I'm talking about what I've done with myself, and I'm proud of it. And that's what we do in our community. We'll burn that down instead of building us up, because we did choose to do something. So we're always throwing that thing, and we're the only culture that says that to one another.
Along those lines, I know you and your soapbox.
Okay, go ahead.
We got to celebrate each other. I mean, your successes has to be my successes. I can't say, I can't believe Yashica has a Mercedes. I should say we have a Mercedes, I mean, it's a car, but I'm just saying, even with the job, if you get a Fortune 500 job, I'm thinking like, oh, I gotta be next because she's gonna help me out. We should be celebrating each other's successes, and that's what we don't do, Because I feel like if a relative of mine has done something great, I feel like I've won. If you get a promotion, if Dr. Angie gets a promotion, I feel like I got a promotion. That's how that should be the mutual feeling for everybody. That's me. That's only me now.
But you're right. And those type conversations, you're muted, Dr. Angie. Those type conversations we need to have more. The celebration time. And that's one of the things. Remember we was talking about the network to net worth? You see, that's a hub right there. So you got something that she don't have. That's that talking, that's that communicating. So we'll know. And then you know what? Other cultures have done it. Why we can't create the same thing? Well, we're trading. You know, I may have something that you don't have over here. I don't know how to do investment banking. Guess what? I don't want to know how to do it, but I would trust giving my money to you. Say, hey, how to do X, Y, Z, and I don't want to learn it. I don't want to learn. That's your lane. Over here with Yashica art, I don't want to do all that extra. You know, I have a master's in counseling and psychology, but I know my lane. I know what I like and what I don't like. However, if it's a group that needs your skills, that's what we need to start communicating and talking so we know what we're doing amongst each other. And I wanted to say the levels, because at the end of the day, we might want to try to pull everybody up, but how about we just stand on this platform we're on right now and talk to all the people to the left to us and go up to the top. And then those ones who are watching, let them elevate themselves up to where we are, not us come back down to where they're at. Let's do some things to elevate people. Let's do some things of what we're doing so good up here that they see us and want to do what we're doing, right? Anyway, that's. Oh, I see. Somebody said, Tia again said, we are asking our people to do something we have never done, celebrating each other.
Yeah,
so there are a couple of issues that just came up there. So one of the things that I find that is very frustrating to me is that people of color, finally one gets to the table, and then when they get to the table, they forget all about the others that are sitting waiting in the wings, so to speak, and they purposely disregard them, go over them, and they have an opportunity when they're in a position of power to make choices and decisions, and then they decide that oh no, I can't do that because they're going to think I'm doing it just because I'm black or just because they're black or whatever it is. And it's an uncomfortable reality for us, but it is a reality. When people in power, they say, oh, I really want to get so-and-so to do this position, or I want to move them up, but I can't do that because my other counterparts are going to look at me differently. They're going to think that, I'm just putting them on because they are black. And when that is something that we need to really get out of the fear factor of that, because a lot of it, I think, is us doing it and not necessarily what the other people think. We think they think that, but we're not certain that they think that. And because we are living in a different culture, different climate, while there are many people who still live in the Jim Crow era in their mind, there are many who are not thinking like that. Can we embrace those who are not thinking like that? Can we move forward until somebody stops us, rather than I better watch, I better be careful for myself because I don't want them thinking that way. So can we begin to say, move forward, and then if somebody says something, then you can then begin to react and deal with that and question them. So why are you saying that? What makes you think that this is an unqualified person? Is this person qualified to do the job or not? So I just think that it's important that when we get to the table and we get these positions of power, that we utilize them and not do the same thing that has been done to us year after year, decade after decade. Why don't we stop functioning in that? Anyone have a comment about this? Especially you, Yashica R, because we haven't heard from you too much.
I did have a comment. I just wanted to go back to where you talked about entrepreneurship being important. And so when you're an entrepreneur or you're self-employed, you do have that power to empower others and hire them. And you don't have to worry about what they're saying because you're the boss. So you can hire who you want to hire. And I think it's very important too for us to start in our households. I have 2 sons. I raised them to be entrepreneurs. If they decide to go into the workforce, that's what they can do, but they were raised to be entrepreneurs. I did not raise my sons to grow up and get a good job. I raised them to have a wealthy mind and to be able to manifest that and go out in the world and really kill it, because I know some of what men of color face, and I don't want that for my sons.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I see you. biting her tongue. Go ahead, Yashica B.
No, when she was saying that, I was just thinking about that the thing that I had done. Instead of asking for a seat at the table, make the table, and then I ask you to have a seat. And then when she said that, that's just the way I feel about it. Hey, raise these entrepreneurs, and then we'll ask you to have a seat at our table when you're invited. And if you're not, kick rocks.
I love that. So we have to actually create our own power. Stop waiting for someone else to give us power. We
True.
have to create our own power, and we can do that through entrepreneurship. And when we really look at things, we have so much at our disposal that we are not utilizing. And one of the reasons is what you alluded to, Yashica B. We're not getting educated in these things, and that doesn't necessarily mean college educated. We walk around with these computers in our hands every day. We have Google, the Google gods. We have all these things at our disposal. We have YouTube. You can sit down and use YouTube to teach yourself anything and everything.
Absolutely.
And we just have to learn to use what we have. We don't necessarily have the same opportunities given to us, but we can certainly make those opportunities if we so choose.
I agree. Absolutely.
So I see there's a comment from Sophonia Olsen-Leggett, and she says, we must continuously add tools to our toolbox. Everything is strategic when we are building cohesiveness. This is a check, not checkers. Love that, Sophonia. Thank you.
Absolutely. I agree. So, okay, there's another one that came up that's pretty good too.
Dr. Gray says relationships, wealth, power, etc., must be looked at in totality from the historical lived experience. And that is so true. So true. So our guest, you want to hop in on that and weigh in on either one of those comments?
I think that it is important that we are playing chess. I just want to go back to kind of just the entrepreneur part. So we come from, Black Wall Street, and most of the people of color that were lynched were business owners. And when the civil rights movement came in, we were integrated, but it was for separation. So all that really did was take away our economic power as far as our entrepreneurship. So if we go back to that, I think that would help increase some of the self-esteem that's lacking with people of color and maybe some of the insecurities. I know before we kind of talked about education level and income level. I think when you're first meeting somebody, I really don't even feel like your education level or income should come up. I never disclose my education level because that's not where I get my self-esteem from or my income. That's definitely something that I don't feel a woman should be disclosing to a man anyway. So if a man meets me, he won't know if I have a high school diploma or not. And even if I only did have a high school diploma, I don't feel like degrees equate education. Malcolm X had an 8th grade education and he could run circles around most of the population. So, looking back, our people were inventing things when it was illegal to read. So I would never say that someone with a degree is smarter than somebody without one.
Absolutely. Definitely on the same page there. Yashica B.
Oh, one of the things that over the years that I have learned as well is that just like Malcolm X, my granddad had a 6th grade education. I always talk about that, how he could outthink me in math, and I went to Capital Big in college algebra, and we can sit there and we just do the games, and he just better, because the thing is, it's the foundation and how they took pride in what they learned and went from there. Now it's, again, we have everything at our fingertips, and it's like it can be a good thing and a bad thing because it doesn't make us stretch our minds. Now, our people have always been very good with our minds and our hands. What our mind says, our hands do, right? But it's like somewhere up in that American dream, it was broken. And for me, my perspective, that brokenness became when that American dream was go to school, get an education, go to school, get an education. But you can get education, like we all know, because every last one of us on this panel is educated. But if I had to trade it again, I would do something a little bit different. And that's the reason why I talk to my kids the way I do. Also, Yashica R, is that I have a mastermind with my kids. And that's what we talk about, that we study the science of getting rich. We study Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. We study that as a family. We listen, we talk about it. We change the way we speak. When I teach them about network to network, I'm telling them about the bridges to use to get over there. Because I want them to be productive people. And one thing I want them to do is to see my footprints, because I've laid out blueprints for them. Their mama, you know, I would have to go all day to talk about things. It is this. I make sure they see what I've done, so they can go and they can decide either you're gonna go off this blueprint or just tweak it a little bit and make it work for you. And entrepreneurship is the way. I mean, it's just the way to me. It's just one. It's just to me, it's the bridge to your network. And also, again, having that seat at your own table and then invite others to come. And now I know we got off a little bit, guys, but we talked about the thing is why black women should look outside their race, which is what we started with. But as you can tell, it is so much when you talk about our culture and excuse me, and the things that we can do as a culture. It's just you can start on one topic and you can get a plethora of issues that come along with it. And so again, but these is not a bad thing. These conversations need to be had. These are the conversations that need to be had at that dinner table that we don't sit at no more. So stand up at that bar and start talking. These are the conversations that when you're talking to your friends on the phone, you need to be talking stuff that's going to elevate you, things that we can help each other out with. Productive conversation. I don't need to know about what happened on Atlanta Housewives. They don't do nothing for me. But I do need to know what's new with the entrepreneur. Who can I network with? I need to know what's the stock market. I need to know, Neil. You need to be telling me what the penny stock I need to be investing in. You need to tell me about the Bitcoin, Digicoin, Itcoin, all them coins that I missed out on because I didn't invest in them because I didn't know. Those are conversations we need to have. Those are the conversations going to lead to the other conversation when we can say, well, maybe we don't need to go outside our race. Maybe we can stay within our race. Maybe we can find these guys up there. We can keep them out of jails and off the street. And we can put Uncle Nearest a fear. What's the name of the man? We can put him down. But, you know, when you
there's a story behind this.
You know, you can slip on these type
There's a story behind this.
Yes, it's a story. And change the narrative of how we speak about Black businesses. Stop saying we don't do business with Black people. No, you don't do business with the people that you're doing business with. Change the way you look at things. The things you look at will change. If you are attracting the bottom of the barrel, it might be something about you. The reason why you are attracting that type of person. Raise your level of thinking.
Hey,
rise up.
To caveat to what you're saying, and Tia Geese, her comment says, we have to learn how to play the game. If I get a job in a position to help others, I need to come to the job ready and able to give your all, not show up and half do the job because you got it easy. And what you just said, we talk about entrepreneurship and Black businesses. Hey, sometimes that level of professionalism, sometimes it's just not there, you know, as far as being on time, doing the job to standard, and so on and so forth. And what she said is very key. You know, being in a position of HR in the past, I've interviewed people that didn't come ready for the job that I was offering. And so you want to give them the opportunity. Definitely, yes. You know, are the scales going to be tilted for them? Yes. But I can't send you to my boss for a second or third interview if you didn't come to my interview to perform.
Absolutely. And holding them accountable. And we don't need to forget that word everybody's scared of, accountability. That's important. I mean,
communication. Our brothers and sisters who have made it need to pull back and come have those conversations with our kids and be directly with them with these young adults. And like you were mentioning before about pulling up your pants, pull them aside and let them know, I know what you're trying to do, but this is what's happening. This is how you're being perceived. This is how the world is reading you. And you right now, you need to be in the world of work. And the world of work is reading this, but you're doing this. And it's not acceptable. You're never going to make it if you're all tatted up. You got tats up and down your face, and you know, all that stuff, and you got your pants hanging off your behind, and you're not looking professional and not looking the part. And that doesn't say that you look bad. It's just that you're not. It's like going to a black tie affair and you got on jeans and sneakers. You have to be able, like someone mentioned, I believe it was Sophia. Here. You have to know how to play the game. You got to know what to look like when you show up. That's a very good point. You have to know how to function in those circles. And all of that's a conscious decision. You have to make it your business to get ready to deal in the world, to work in the world of work. I see a couple of comments that I wanted to bring forth from Facebook. And here's one of them. It says young African Americans should go back to the basics. For example, get together with other young African Americans and buy some land, plant some crops, sell the crops, plant some trees, sell the trees. Microeconomics is one of the keys to success for young African Americans. And that was a message from Mr. Charles Williams. And I think there is some good stuff there. Anybody want to comment on that?
I did want to comment on that. I think that I feel like it is important that we do not generalize every melanated person and call them African American, because every melanated person is not African American. That's a made up term from the 1980s. And I feel like that kind of separates us, and we as melanated people globally need to come together and stand together. But when we put those labels from the 1980s on each other, that kind of separates us apart from each other. So I do think that we should kind of, as a group, shy away from that term, because, you know, somebody from Brazil that is melanated is not African American, but they may look just like us.
Yeah. So we have another comment, and it reads as follows: in terms of relationships, I personally believe to each his own. God bless you. If you do, but I will ask a question in terms of who is with who. Has any of you ever seen a rich white female with a poor black man? That comes from Dr. Gray.
Yes, I have. The guy with the blue eyes that went viral, he was in jail and he went viral. Don't remember his name, but he got out of jail and he started dating a European billionaire. So yes, I have seen that.
Oh. I'm not familiar with that story. I would really like to read about that, hear about that. That's awesome. So anyway.
Yeah, but one thing about it though is like, but still that shows the differences goes between the two, between the black males and the black females though. I mean, that may be one, but how many do we see across the board? The other way. You know, that we see all the time. So again, you know, we know things are not, you know, there are certain exceptions to every rule, absolutely, but it's just different. You know, it's like, okay, let us level this playing field just a tad bit. But when one of you guys mentioned the Willie Lynch letter, and I think that might have been you, Yashica R, is that you mentioned it. Well, let me tell you about another one. I don't know if y'all have read this one, but this one right here. I don't know if y'all can see it. It's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. If you have not read this and you're a black person in America, you need to read it. This book was written years ago, before the Cold War. I think that's right. You remember the Cold War? If you know a little bit about history, that's the Russia, the China, the Nazis, the Tsar, and all that kind of great stuff. When Russia built the wall, they separated, whatever. I ain't going off into history because I love history, but I might be a little bit gray on that. But the reason why I said that, Dr. John said maybe it was the blue eyes. The reason why, because if you read the Willie Lynch letter and you understand that, now you need to go read Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil to understand and know what we're facing today. And the amazing part about this, even if you don't read it, it's a free audio on YouTube that has both voices, the devil and the author. Okay. Now, all of you saints out there, it's not like that. You don't have to get all scared. It's not devil worship, none of that type of stuff. But it's a conversation that needs to be, that should be had. And when I read that book, and I read it because it was recommended by a group of 3%ers, and if you all should know what that means, 3%ers. And I know what they're reading, it would behoove you to read it too, if you're trying to elevate yourself to another level. And the reason why, because that book goes deeper than the Willie Lynch letter and tells you about what's going on today, the systemic racism, and not just systemic racism against us, just the systems period to hold people to a certain class, to what we're doing right now. You go to school, you go to work, you work forever. No freedom nowhere. You go to school, you go to work, get a job. You know, that's all we talk about. Education, get a job. Educate. Well, where do you live? Where do you live at? Where are you in this diagram of how you live your life? And that's not the only thing it talks about in there. It talks about the wars. It talks about what we're happening with all the churches on the corners. So what I want you to do, just for people out there, Black, white, whomever, but I'm talking to our culture because I'm talking to who's related to me. And I know we got some of those, and they say like whatever, but I'm talking to who looks like me. I told you I'm very transparent. I'm very direct. I'm talking to people who look like me because right now we are the ones who need the help. So I'm addressing them. You need to read this book. It's free on YouTube, the audio version. If you can play anything else, you can play that. It's about, I think if you actually play it straight through, it might be 5 hours, not quite sure, but you can always stop, pause, come back to it. And I'm telling you, you will be enlightened that you would go buy the book and you would do it again. And even if you have children and you're Black in America, everybody need to read that book. And that book, from the beginning, it'll tell you it was banned in the 1950s, and you would know why once you understand and you listen to why that book was banned. But
that is an awesome book. I have to put
it wasn't banned for everybody because the 3%ers had it, right? So we are at 51 minutes, Dr. Angie. Do we have any alibis over in the corner? I can't bring my phone up.
I do have a comment from Mr. Williams over on Facebook, and it reads as follows. Your comment is accepted concerning the African American. The African diaspora is vast. Please keep that in mind. The main message is microeconomics concerning the topic that was being discussed. Okay, let me say this. Young people should go back to the basics. And Delasper Griffin Sanders says she got the book and it opened her eyes so much. So we have a couple of comments there. Very good. Thank you all over on Facebook.
Well, how did I miss them? I didn't see them over there. I missed the part of that first when you said go back to the basics. I didn't hear the first sentence of that, go back to the basics.
Oh, he was responding to R's comment about the label of African American coming from the 80s. He said he hears that, but he doesn't want you to lose the message that was there. The message was that we should do microeconomics, that we should partner with each other and begin to build our own finances and that kind of thing.
Right, and that was the reason behind my comment also, so that we would be able to come together.
Yeah,
globally come together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I think I you said on your comment, I think I left it, but you were saying not just of color, period. All of us of color.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And Kelly, our number one fan, has also commented a couple of times. I just wanted us to be aware that she is there, and she really liked the comment about your network is your net worth. Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank everyone who has joined us on Facebook. Iffy McCoy, hello. Thank you for joining us. So we have a lot of good subjects here. We have created a show within a show, mm-hmm. and a few more to come down the road. So I just want to thank our guests. I definitely want to thank Yashica R for your feedback, Neil for your feedback, and your opinions. Your opinions matter. All of our opinions matter. So thank you for sharing those opinions with us. Yashica, I'm going to step out, let you do what you were about to do. I just wanted to grab those comments.
Are we going to close out now at 54? We're right at an hour. So I think we got enough on there.
Can I make a comment on Yashica R real quick?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Yashica R, she mentioned earlier. She mentioned earlier about her kids teaching them entrepreneurship. And I would only add to that, make sure they got a seat at the table when discussing bills and how much things actually cost, accounts and finances. Because my kids understand everything we have. They understand our net worth and everything. They can recite it to the T. Not that they're going to go out and tell somebody, they just know it. Because I remember when I was that age, it was always, this is a grown folks conversation, you need to leave. So we grew up oblivious to the financial conversations, or what we didn't have, what we didn't have. So my mindset is to include the kids so they know.
Yeah, I grew up a little bit differently. I never was pushed out of the room for those quote unquote adult conversations. And so my youngest son, for his 10th birthday, he was very much into finance and real estate. So one of the things that we did for his 10th birthday was he put on a suit and he went and met with a bank manager. My kids did financial counseling and everything else before. My oldest is 19, almost 20. So they did that stuff at a very young age. Thank you, though.
So any of y'all out there listening with young children, that's something to think about. That's something to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Also, I want us to be mindful of the fact that when we are looking at our situations and our circumstances, we have to also realize that there is wealth in things other than finances as well. So if we can find a wealth perspective in terms of how we function in life, in terms of being respectful, in terms of being creative, imaginative, following our vision, doing those things create wealth within. And when we function with creating the wealth within, the money will come. So let's not chase the money. Let's chase the wealth, because the wealth is something other than the finances. And I just think we should never forget that. I think we should get our mindset right. It's all about mindset. When we look at these things, as Yashica pointed out, Yashica B with the book Outwitting the Devil, Think and Grow Rich. Those books are a wealth of knowledge that when you read those books and study those books and they become a part of your normal everyday functioning and they become your mindset, you will change the world, not just for yourself, but for your community and for everyone around you, your family. You then begin to be able to leave a legacy that's worth leaving. You want your great-grandchildren to know who you are. You want your great-great-great-grandchildren to know who you are. So it's important that we look at that. I do want to add another quick comment that Dr. Gray just said, and he said that the Bible says a fool and his money shall soon part. So that goes along with what I'm saying. We need to also work on the knowledge, the understanding, the discernment, and how to function. Somebody said it way back earlier in the show about learn how to play the game. And it is a game. It's a chess game. It's not checkers. And we're still busy playing checkers when the rest of the world is playing chess. So that's my feedback. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Well, we like the story that you're sticking to. Right now, I guess we're right here at the end of the show, at the end of our hour. Again, Dr. Angie, thank everybody for coming. I want to thank you again. I want to thank all the people on the side. And I challenge you for this week. I want to give you a couple of things to do this week. I want you all to get up with the spirit of gratitude. I'm sure we're doing it. I know you've heard it, but listen, it's a difference when you say it than write it. Write down 10 things, 10 people that you're grateful for, 10 people you're grateful for, 10 things that you're grateful for, and then turn around and write down 5 things that you're grateful for in the now that you have yet to receive, but write it as though you have. And this is a practice every single day that you should do. And also get up and wake up with the spirit of increase, because we also get up in the mornings and we think, okay, why, or woe is me, or why me, but why not me? Why not you? And you can look at that why not you in a positive way. Why not you be blessed financially, spiritually, educationally? Why not? You're a creature of the Most High. So why not? Right? And let's start our days off a little bit different. The self-conversations that we have with ourselves, this conversation that we have with our friends and family, change those conversations. Ask them something different. Do something different. And something different might be picking up one of those books that we mentioned in this show. We mentioned Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. We mentioned The Science of Getting Rich, and that's Wallace Wells. We mentioned Think and Grow Rich, and that's Napoleon Hill. And Prince Price, we didn't mention this one, but this is one more. U squared. That's YOU squared. It talks about quantum leap. That's another one. These books are easy reads, people. One of them, I think, is 30-some pages in it. And that's I liked it. They got right to the point. Right to the point. And most of them are also audiobooks on YouTube. So change the way you do things, change the way you look at things, change the way that you operate on a day-to-day basis. And I guarantee you, your life, your family life will change as well. And that's my
got a photo bomb back there.
all that hair. Goodness, you done got big.
Photo bomb, and then she came in. So, real quick, Yashica, great information, great advice, all that. But I just wanted to take a moment out because you are the one who selected this topic today.
Mhm.
To say, and I know we have already begun to land this plane, so we will continue to land the plane. But I did want to say that Mr. Williams said, "Wow, that was so fast. Can this conversation be extended?" So it was a good conversation. I just wanted to pass it on to you, and maybe we can do a part 2 at some point.
Absolutely. And those are, and too, Dr. Angie, before we do sign off and into the audience, those are the conversations you want to have, because if you look at how many twists this conversation had, look how many things that we address in this conversation, and those are valuable. I mean, seriously, I know I talk about the Atlanta housewife, the Orangeburg. I don't even know the people, but that's not important. That's not important. Do a replay. Replay this kind and get those little nuggets, because I guarantee if you're in the show, you're watching, it's something that you miss, something that we've said. It's like, golly, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I learned some things. And that's another thing I forgot to tell people. You never stop learning. Learn something new every day. Absolutely every day. It won't hurt you. It won't. So anyway, remember,
Not to learn something new every day.
huh?
It may hurt you not to learn something new.
Yes. And then you remember, you don't have to tear down anyone's kingdom while building your empire, because there's plenty of room at the top. It's the bottom that's crowded. And we'll go ahead and leave y'all with that. Do something different. Have a great week.
All right. That's one, everyone.